All right, welcome everybody. This is the Advisory Committee's Public Safety Subcommittee public hearing on the FY27 Fire Department budget. I'd like to welcome everybody and thank you for coming. With us are subcommittee members Neil Gordon, Elisa Jonas, Jocelyn Murphy, and myself, David Mark Goldstein. I'm the chair. And I'd like to thank Charlie Young and Chief Sullivan and the others for coming. The way it normally works, that we'll start with a brief presentation from the chief, open it up to questions, and then we'll allow the public to ask any questions they want or make any comments they want. Then we'll close the public hearing and take a vote on the budget, hopefully before midnight. So we have somebody else coming in. So I'll throw it to the chief.
So thank you, David Mark. I don't have anything formal to put before you as far as the fiscal 27 budget goes. The finances, I'll let Charlie present if he has anything extra to add. You have our budget before you. It is a pretty straightforward. There's no specific adds in terms of any additional monies added for expansion requests. So it's pretty straightforward. We have our normal utilities, which is projected by the town, along with our regular, if you will, capital outlay expenses that are added every year. With regard to some of our standing projects like the turnout gear, there's a slight increase this year. We were able to balance some of our costs over the last few years with some savings that we were able to realize through ARPA funding to balance out our turnout gear requests this year. The intention is to go forward. You'll see a little bit of an increase in our ask for the turnout gear to facilitate PFAS-free turnout gear for this year's round of turnout turnover. So that was a little bit of an increase there, but otherwise it's a pretty stable budget. Obviously, the elephant in the room is the override to come. So we can have that as a secondary discussion to the basic FY27 budget. So I don't really have anything remarkable to say about the budget as far as it is presented for the normal fiscal 27 budget year.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to point out two things. One, we don't have the override numbers for the fire department, so tonight's budget discussion will be assuming a no override vote. Those are the numbers that are before us. And I want to take this opportunity, in case I forget later, to thank the chief for all the service he's done for the town. He's done an amazing job. And, we really appreciate everything you've done for us. And we're really sorry that you might be retiring next year. Charlie, do you have anything you'd like to add at this point?
Not in particular. It's a $20 million budget. And I do see a comment in the chat looking for a copy of the budget. The budget is available on Budget Central on the website. There's both a PDF and an online version. For everyone's benefit, here's a direct link to the fire department's page, which has the no override budget included in it. And so I don't have anything specific to add here other than, if you want to look at the no override, this is the no override budget for conversations around what might be in an override and what might happen without an override. You want to look at the town administrator's budget message in section 1. Okay,
yeah, I actually have those pages. For information on the override, section 1, pages 27 and 31. And if you want the CIP information, that's in the CIP section, page 388. And if you want just the regular fire department budget, if you go to the budget, it's in section 4, page 199. That's where it starts. Okay, let's break it out into questions for anybody on the subcommittee who wants to start off. Jocelyn.
Thanks, David Mark. This is probably a question for Charlie, but first of all, I'm going to support this budget clearly, as I suspect my colleagues will do as well. But the question I have is that in years past, Charlie, maybe the chief can answer this as well. Department heads in an override year were asked to do an exercise that I think my recollection is we were asked to reduce our budgets by 5% or 10%, I've forgotten. Does that not happen anymore? As that didn't happen
That's a
in
great
this
question,
over.
Jocelyn. I'm happy to take that. And so we actually had these conversations internally about how do we start talking about reductions? Where do we go with this? The process we chose was to meet with the department heads, discuss potential reductions, and then let them react and offer alternatives. And the reason we chose to go that route is the last time the town gathered up several, cuts from around all the different departments and said, here's how much we would cut in a 10% or 5% scenario, right? um, those cuts weren't needed in the end. And the schools actually came out and said, well, the town had all of these cuts they didn't need to take. And so therefore we'd like those. And town meeting voted to do that. And so there was apprehension on the part of the town side to offer up a list of cuts that could be referenced and used to cut the town budget in order to fund the school budget. That was the reason that wasn't done. We did get other questions about that, and I think it's a reasonable question, but we were just trying to avoid that possible outcome.
Thank you. I also, I really appreciate the fact that safety for personnel is being addressed in this budget, but I remember a question coming up last year about cancer detection. What is the state of that, Chief?
So obviously there is no additional funding in the budget for any progressive, if you will, cancer detection. We still continue to offer access to the state cancer detection, all the state cancer detection availability. The PFFM itself has various offerings throughout the year as well. So we're certainly supportive of it. We don't have a budget to be able to offer it at the expense of the town. Some of the offerings from the state are free to the firefighters, and some of them it is a copay, and it's just an opportunity for you to go and get either ultrasound screenings and or CT scans or blood screenings. Those are out there and are available to the firefighters through the Department of Fire Services.
Thank you. And I imagine you've looked into grant funding and other sources of revenue for that purpose.
Yep, we have not been able to secure any grant funding at this point. For the first time, literally just today, I did hear from another fire chief who was able to secure AFG grant funding for the blood tests. So that is something that we'll definitely put on our radar for the future. That has not been something that has been approved to my knowledge in the past, but it's good to hear that he did have a successful submission for that. So we can certainly do that. And again, AFG grants are competitive grants, so it depends on the town's financial situation, which we can certainly look at as a negative positive, if you will, in the aspect that our budget right now is very tight. Where in years past we may not have been successful because of the successful budgets that we've had in the past. So, but I will point out before you move on, Jocelyn, that one thing I was remiss is that if the one change to the fiscal year 27 budget that is a definitive change is that override or not, the fire department is looking at a reduction of one position from a full-time positions. Right now, it has been kind of broadcast, if you will, or in the budget book that it's potentially the lieutenant in fire prevention. I'm still having discussions with the sixth floor about where that position would actually come from. I want to maintain service levels and operational readiness. So we certainly have to, go through that that process of negotiations, impact bargaining with the union as well. So right now, it was kind of the last one in, first one out. That was the last full-time position added to our budget. And so it was easy to identify that as potentially the cut. Operationally, our Fire Prevention Bureau does a lot of service work to the community. I'm not sure that that's the best place for us to be cutting at this point. So still ongoing conversations. One way or the other, it looks like we will lose one full-time position, unfunded. I don't think, Charlie can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know that it's going to be taken out of the table of organization. It's just going to go unfunded.
So what do you anticipate will be the difference in fire prevention?
Well, fire prevention is out straight every day, doing permits and inspections. And I advocated strongly, several years ago to get that position because I was able to, prove to you all that it was something that we were lagging behind, especially in our customer service. So I think a deeper look at our organization as to where, if we were to lose a position, where that would be. I'm not sure that fire prevention is the best place for us as far as continuity of operations and continuing to provide the services that the public needs.
And Chief, which department was it that was successful with grant funding? You mentioned the chief.
I'd have to think of where he was from. We were at a board meeting today, and one of the chiefs had said it. I'd have to go back and look and see what actual department he is from. It's one of the smaller communities. It wasn't Westwood. It was North Shore somewhere. I'd have to look at it. I'm not exactly sure. I'm sorry, Jocelyn. I recognize his face. I just can't. I don't know exactly what department.
No worries. All right,
Happens to
thank
me
you.
all the time.
Yeah, so maybe Chief, it's always good to see you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
So maybe someone here can unconfuse me because I'm confused. More broadly than the fire budget. So we have and have been reviewing no override budgets, including this one, which with no override is essentially flat. It's a 1% increase. And is a reduction of a position. But if I read the doom and gloom, no override cover letter from the town administrator, it's a lot worse, including on this department, where we talk about if there is no override, we may lose an engine company, we may lose a firehouse, and that's not in the no override plan that we see. Right. And so what is it that we're looking at as a no override budget? And so I'll add parenthetically, if every department we've been looking at and doing budget reviews at the subcommittee level is the no override tough budget, right? But there are more cuts to come to the various townside departments. That only means that's a further shift from the town side to the school side. And so what is it that we're doing in what budget are we actually looking at? So it's not the override budget, and it doesn't seem to be the no override budget either. It just seems
if
to
I can
be-
jump in, Neil, I'm sorry.
Please do.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand the comment about shifting over to schools, but just to clarify, in each budget section, when you're under departments, for example, the fire department section, what you're looking at is the budget numbers that we would recommend, the town administrator recommends in the event of a no override budget. It's only for FY27, so it doesn't include FY28. And so if you look at Chaz's narrative, he's saying if the override were to fail, there would be additional potential cuts in FY28 and FY29.
Oh.
He discusses what those are. The
Okay.
bulk of those future year cuts come from dealing with the fire contract that hits in FY28. And so the bulk of the dealing with that comes from reductions here in the fire department.
And is it also
So-
the tail as
Okay.
well? The tail?
That's
of
the same. It's one and the
budget?
same. When I say fire
I see,
contract
I
kicking
see.
in 28,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
I'll say
Okay.
tail from here on so we can all
Okay,
use the same language.
Okay.
But yes,
that
it's the
helps.
tail that kicks in 28.
So that helps.
And so the remainder of what you're seeing, right? So obviously you look at the 27 budget page, you don't see any mention of things like, for example, brownouts, right? For example, changes in operations. And the reason for that is to date, that has, those things haven't been budgeted in the department. They've been pushed off to the reserve fund. And so it's being addressed all on the override page so that you can go to one stop for all of your questions about what's in and what's out in an override scenario. So all the department pages say this. They say refer back to budget message section 1. This is an attempt to avoid confusion so that when you're in the budget sections, no matter what, when you're looking at a department budget, you're looking at the numbers in a no override scenario. And if you want to know what that means narratively and from a numbers perspective, you have to go to the override page.
But now I'm even more confused. Wait, the narrative says we're going to lose X number of firefighters and an engine.
In
but that is-
FY28, and it says likely. It actually says we likely need to reduce 20 firefighters. That's what it says right now.
But that's not for fiscal year 27.
27.
I have to go
Correct.
back to, so when we've been getting all the budgets.
It's just been
it's fiscal year,
FY27.
so the big hit isn't generally, I mean, across the departments, it's mainly fiscal year 28, or are there certain?
No, the primary, I'm sorry. In the override proposal that Chaz has put out there, the bulk of the restorations and additions are all in FY27. The major deficit to deal with beyond that is the fire tail in FY28. And that is when that's when the conversation around reducing a company comes into play. It doesn't mean we can't have that conversation now. I'm not trying to say we can't. I'm just trying to help Neil figure out what he's looking at. So if you look
Yeah,
in the budget book
think
and you
I'm
go to the
hearing-
department budget section, you're looking at the FY27 no override budget. For FY27, yes override, and future years and what's getting reduced, you have to look at the override page in the budget message.
Right, so
Oh.
speaking for the townside departments that I have either been on subcommittee reviewing their budget or been in the room for their budget review. There's not a lot of fiscal 27 blood and guts spilling out on the floor and a lot of pain that we've seen, right? Which sort of begs look, I've never seen an override that I didn't love. I worked on lots of override yes campaigns. But it sort of begs the question of if everything is fine and this is really about 28, what are we asking for in 27?
So I hope I didn't give that impression. If you
Well, no,
look
you
at
didn't.
the override
didn't.
proposal, if I don't think we're talking about the big deal is in FY28, right? So it's a $5.3 million override proposal, and 910,000 of that is in FY28. That's to deal with the fire contract tail. So most of the restorations of cuts and most of the pain and is in FY27.
And so which of the departments that are hit the most in 20, is it the police department with its not filling vacancies, or?
That's one. That's absolutely one of the more substantial reductions. I mean, it's 17 FTEs across town departments, six of those being police officers. But I mean, finance is losing 2.5 positions. Planning is losing 3 positions. We're talking about, DPW is losing 2 positions among other lines. We're talking about,
Mhm.
a lot of significant cuts across the board. $2.5 million in cuts in 27.
And so the fire prevention
Is one of those positions.
that's one of those positions as well.
Yeah. And the chief is correct that in a yes override scenario, that position also remains cut under the current
Oh,
town
even if
administrator
there is an
proposal.
override.
That one
Yes.
position will
So
remain.
that, okay.
Yeah.
So I also noticed training. I think permanent staff for training is also down. Is that right? Because I
For the-
saw both for fire prevention and for training that
That
there
may
were,
be that may be a typo if it's on the department page. It should be prevention.
wait, let me just see. Fire training, permanent full-time staff, 467,000 in fiscal year 26 and 348,000 in fiscal year 27, which is a 25% decrease.
I think that has to do more with the balance of salaries that we were carrying in those positions. Right now, we have a long-term IOD, or yeah, I guess he's IOD, in training division. That is, so we're carrying two captains in training division right now to carry that IOD. And so I think that might be the anomaly that you're seeing. It's still the same. There's still three positions there, a deputy chief, a captain, and a lieutenant. But while we have one of them out long-term, we have to carry a temporary captain in that position, in addition to the captain who's out IOD. So there's two captain salaries there, maybe. I'm not really sure why there's an anomaly there.
What, so they're pulled out of the training area and shown somewhere else,
They're
or
pulled out of suppression and shown in training.
no, the training is decreased by
Right.
118,000. Whoa. I
For
forgot.
FY27.
Oh,
Because it
got it.
assumes that there will only be one captain in 27. It's not assuming that
Okay,
extra
it.
body will be there for another full year.
got it.
Okay, while we're sort of on this subject, every yes override email that I've received so far has said that we are going to be losing an entire engine company. One email said a station was going to close. And I'm glad that it's not going to be in 27, but can you tell me if that were to come to pass when you had to lose 20 positions, would you spread it out over various departments or would you simply take an engine out of service? Do you have any idea of what would be the least problematic for the town? And I'm asking this, so, and I know we don't have to deal with it in this budget, but I'm wondering how that affects the minimum manning and would our overtime just explode?
Well, I mean, that is the crux of what I proposed last year to close that gap, would be to reduce staffing throughout the department as opposed to cutting an entire company. That was met with, a great deal of resistance. So I think the only way to realize that budget gap at that point would be to, because minimum staffing is negotiated, and the union is not willing to budge on the minimum staffing, at least not at this point. The next lever, if you will, that's available to us is to operationally just close a company. So I hope that answers your question. So that's the lever that would have to be pulled in order to be able to make up $1.7 million in deficit.
Are we at all, where is the study that the union requested to have done? Is that available to look at, or could we get a presentation of that?
The union study is on the union's webpage still, as far as I know. Maybe one of the members of the union that is here, that is a study of response times and the effects of 1710. So the NFPA standard 1710. So yes, if we closed a company and we lost an engine company, would that affect that? Absolutely, it would. If we reduce staffing on the engines, it's the same thing. You're still losing 4 to 5 bodies per shift from from what you have available today.
I see a comment.
Yeah, if members of the union want to jump in, this is a public hearing, so, you can just raise your hand or put your name in the chat and we'll call on you. So if you have anything you'd like to add on a point we're making, please feel free to do so.
Thank you for saying that,
Donnell.
David Mark.
Donnell, you've unmuted yourself. You have questions, comments?
Yeah, no, thank you. Because I was gonna, first of all, apologies for my lateness. Sorry about that. But David Mark, I actually wanted to see if Nas or David Randolph had anything to say. I'd be curious if they had any words.
Well, they're welcome to jump in if they'd like to. Also,
And
if the L950 treasurer wants to change the name, so we actually have a.
That's Lieutenant Brian Bergeron.
Oh, okay. Hi, Brian. And if the person on the phone wants to identify themselves, that'd be great for the attendance list. Maybe they're napping. Okay. So anybody want to jump in from the union perspective on the FY27 budget?
It looked like Brian raised his hand,
Okay.
or he waved. I'm not sure which one it was.
No, yeah,
Well-
that was a hand raise.
Go ahead, Brian.
So I'm not gonna get into everything about the budget, but just related to things that have been discussed so far, just so it's clear to everybody. The second lieutenant's position that's in fire prevention was put in there after a loss of a civilian position a couple years ago. So it's not taking away something that was recently added. It's a net loss in that office, just so everyone's clear on that.
oh,
And then what was the other thing?
wait, could you go over that again?
Yeah, so
I thought right now, so it's not that there's 2 injured firefighters being budgeted for fiscal 26 on that?
You're talking apples and oranges there.
Okay.
That was training division. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
Brian is
Sorry.
correct.
Sorry, yep, sorry.
There used to be
Yeah.
a civilian clerk position within the Fire Prevention Bureau. And after COVID, we no longer have even before we lost just to be clear, just even before we lost the civilian, that was the compromise. I was advocating for an additional lieutenant, for 2 years prior to losing the civilian. We made an operational decision that in the long run, we would be better serving the public and operationally if we were to lose the clerk position, especially after COVID, when we never reopened the public access window down in fire prevention, that we would be better served to have an additional lieutenant. And so the compromise with the administration was that we would trade, if you will, 1 for 1. So Brian is correct. If that was a 1 for 1, even though it was actually, obviously the salary range is a little higher for a lieutenant than it was for the civilian clerk, but we were able to leverage that opening, if you will, to get the lieutenant that we needed. So if we were to lose that position, we would be going backwards by 1. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry if I usurped you there.
no, that's the exact message I was trying to convey. It's a net loss. There used to be 4, and then civilians gone, second lieutenant in there, still 4. Now second lieutenant gone. Now there's 3. So net loss overall. That's all.
Correct.
Okay.
So could you also comment on, you said the union study is still available. I believe what Elisa is asking about is the study that the town said they would do themselves. My historical memory is melting. Was there a different study that has not been done?
No, there was never a discussion about commissioning an independent study for, it's never been in the cards as far as the budget goes to have an independent study of the operational operations of the fire department since the matrix study that was done 10 years ago. We relied during our conversations with the minimum staffing, we relied on the union study to support our position as well as their position. So, because the NFPA standard is the NFPA standard. You can either meet it or you can't, and most communities can't. We are lucky in at least several aspects of it that we do meet it, especially given that many communities don't even meet what we meet. There are aspects of it that we don't meet, like the high hazard and the medium hazard occupancies. But
Could you clarify the high hazard and the medium
so
hazard?
like high rises, high rises are considered a high hazard occupancy. And according to NFPA, you would need, 40 plus firefighters on duty every day to meet that standard. We're never going to be able to do that budgetarily. We rely, like almost every community other than places like Boston, Chicago, New York, we rely on mutual aid to meet that standard. So, it's a balancing act. The communities try the best that they can. We are fortunate that we have and have maintained the correct level of staffing on engines and ladders at 3 and 1 for many years now. That is what the standard is for low hazard occupancies, and we meet that where the vast majority of communities do not. No one wants to compromise that, but no one wants to have a $2 million budget deficit either. So, when it comes to asking the fire chief what he would rather do, if we have to close that gap with no override, my answer is I would rather reduce the staffing than close a company. But that's a negotiable item with the union. Their position is rightly so that they don't want to compromise that safety factor that is built into 1710. I don't blame them. I've said from the very beginning since I got here, if the town is willing to pay for it, then absolutely we would keep 3 and 1 on every vehicle. But when times get hard, the Matrix report said this 15 years ago or 10 years ago. Well, it's 15 years ago now, 16 years ago now. There's going to come a day when the budgets are going to be tight and we're going to have to address it. And even in that scenario, they said the same thing. That report that was done on behest of the town said you would be better off reducing the staffing than losing a company. That's where we're at.
Can you mention the number of vacancies you currently have this year? Last year, you were almost completely filled, I believe.
Right. We are at 5 vacancies, with 3 of those 5 are starting the academy literally next week. So on the 19th, they start the academy. They have their training day 0, and then they go to start the academy for their 10 weeks starting the following Monday on the 23rd.
Are you training them in Brookline, or are they going?
They're going to the Mass Fire Academy.
Mass Fire Academy. You're still inviting other communities to bring people over to be trained?
We're not running any academies in Brookline anymore.
Okay.
They're all going to the Mass Fire Academy. That way we can keep our numbers up and we can send them 2 and 3 at a time instead of having to wait till we have a large number of vacancies to make an academy make sense as far as fiscally goes. And we have authorization right now to fill those last 2 remaining positions. I'm holding out right now and starting that process until we find out what happens with this override.
Okay.
If we're going to be pushing this down to fiscal year 28 as far as any closing of companies or reduction in staffing, then we will probably proceed forward very shortly with filling those 2 positions as well. Because the higher we keep the complement, in theory, the less overtime that we need, because the more bodies we have available to us, the less openings we have, which would require overtime.
So
Um,
leave, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna change the subject. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was too.
I was gonna ask the obligatory house of station renovation project going, but that can
Ah.
wait till later, so go ahead.
So leave was up 4.7%, I guess largely due to injuries. That's right. I
Yes.
got that right. Are there more injuries because there's more responses to fires, or? mean,
No, not necessarily. There are more responses to fire, so the straight out answer to that is no. But we have a mix of, our injuries. We currently have 3 firefighters out, cancer presumption. I think in total, right this very moment, we have 15 firefighters who are out on injured leave. That is down from 19. We had
down from 19 in fiscal
in-
year 25.
and actually in calendar year 26, we've got several of them back. We got one back from FMLA, and it was either 2 or 3 that came back from injured status. We're working very closely with HR to expedite the long-term injuries that have the potential to be moved off the books in terms of ADR, accidental disability retirements, and various separations from service. So those things are still ongoing. We have one member who is in modified duty. So, we continue to try to pull all the levers that we can in order to be able to reduce those long-term injuries. But a lot of it's out of our hands. A lot of it is just based on, the doctors and the convalescence, if you will, of the individuals. It's out of our hands.
And you said you had
Do you know
3
how we-
cancer,
Do
sorry.
you know how we compare with other communities,
We're-
or
we're-
do we
we're
have an
right-
older?
No, we're right. We do
cohort?
not. We have a younger
Ah.
average age, but we're right on spot with the other communities in Metro Fire. Everybody has the same, about 10% of their workforce.
And you said
Wh-
you had 3 cancer presumptive?
So yes, for several years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now, the state changed the formulary for 111F injured on duty. There's always been presumptive cases for lung, heart, and cancer for retirement purposes. But several years ago, the state legislature enacted that cancers in the fire service would be presumptive for injured on duty status. So that added a layer, if you will, that was not there before, only in terms of how we categorized it. People were still, unfortunately being diagnosed with cancers. They were just being treated on their own in sick leave, and then if they did retire, they would be eligible for the presumptive measure of retirement for cancer. Now it is extended to the on-duty personnel for IOD for cancers.
So is 3, an average year, or is this way above average? I mean, it just, when
No,
you
we've
said
been
3.
since it's come into effect, we've been averaging between 2 and 3.
Wow.
Yeah, various things. I mean, I don't get obviously HR is dealing with folks as far as HIPAA and their specifics go, but it runs the gamut. There's no specific one that Brookline can look to and say, we're seeing an increase in thyroid cancer in Brookline. There are plenty of statistics across the board in the fire service, which will tell you that thyroid cancer, kidney cancer, um, uh, ironically, lung cancer is not even really near the top of the list. It's, thyroid cancer, testicular cancer, ovarian cancer, kidney cancer, bladder cancer. These are the ones that are the highest statistically in the fire service. We would need to gather more data, and I know the union is on top of that as well. They have a very vibrant um, program at the IAFF level that's gathering that data. There is a cancer registry, now a federal cancer registry that was enacted under the last administration so that firefighters can voluntarily put their information into a national database to be able to then support more research based on the data. So there's a lot of work being done in that space.
Okay. The town not funding this stuff is just an embarrassment. Donnell, you had a question? You put something in the chat, so.
Thank you, David Mack. Yes, I did. So I just had this might mean nothing, but I was just curious. In the fiscal 26 fire weekly overtime cost, it's like the first graph we see. What that dip in March, what's that about?
So
mean,
good
it's
question,
good. I just want to
Danelle. The chief may need to pull up the memo to look at it, but the memo that Danelle's talking about is the one I'm linking in the chat here. And so Chief Sullivan, I think Danelle's pointing to a sharp decline in weekly overtime costs around this time of the year. There is one week or a couple weeks in there, Danelle, that I think are causing the peak. In general, after the holidays, so after December, and between then and Memorial Day, Memorial Day,
May.
you see basically a dip and then a leveling off of leave use during that time.
Okay.
So maybe the chief can talk more about that, but
there's an organizational reason for that as well. So our vacation year is a calendar year, but the way that the fire department schedules vacation based on our collective bargaining agreement, everybody gets a summertime vacation, and there's a certain block period that happens in the summertime. There are no scheduled vacations in the system for January and at least half of February, if not all of February. I believe it might even include Brian, and the folks from the union might even know better because I've never been on the vacation schedule like that. But I believe it's January and February. Nobody is actually blocked into a scheduled vacation during those two months.
Okay.
The anomaly that Charlie's talking about generally occurs around February vacation week. So folks who have kids and they want to go away and do their thing with their kids, they will schedule single tour vacations. They're free to use when you want them vacations during that time.
That was gonna be my question. Like, how much in advance are you getting notice about that time period? You know what I'm trying to say? So
so
it makes sense.
Contractually, I believe, and David can jump in on this. Dave Randolph is because he deals with this on a daily basis. It's 48 hours notice to the department for a vacation day and a week for personal, or one. It's one or the other. I don't remember which one is which. So
and then an A day. I'm sorry to cut you off. And then
that's a personal day. That's a personal
day. Okay.
Yeah.
I dig it. Okay. Thank you.
Just different terminology.
No, I understood. I understood what it meant. I just didn't know if everybody else understood what it meant.
I like you representing with the Celtics there too.
Thank you for answering my question.
Okay,
Mark,
Elisa,
I know you want to do the fire. Can I just, does it make more sense? I just had two questions on.
no, go ahead. And Liz Linder hasn't tuned in at all. If she wants to ask anything,
go.
now would be a good time.
David just
Go
put
ahead,
it in the
Elisa.
chat. 48 hours for vacation.
Elisa?
Okay, so I'm just noticing in the financial plan in yellow on performance workload indicators, that the average response time has been less than 4, and for fiscal year 26, it's less than 4.5, and fiscal year 27, it's less than 4.5. Is that because there's a change in the standard, or?
No, that's based on what we can extract from the data. We want to be upfront and honest about what it is that we're able to do. So ideally, by NFPA standard, it's less than 4-minute response time for the first engine company to arrive at the scene of a fire. Okay, that specific subset of a response is not specifically captured on a consistent basis by our dispatch and or CAD data. Okay, so there are several pieces to a response. You have the dispatch time, you've got the turnout time, you've got the actual over-the-road response time, which is what that is talking about. And then you have the on-scene time and there's all these little segments of time. We don't do a very good job of capturing those on a regular basis. So we have the ability to do it, but it doesn't in fact happen very often. Well, I shouldn't say very often. It doesn't happen every time. So when we look at 10,000 runs for a year, maybe 3,500 of those have a full set of data that we can look at and go, oh, okay, yep, that engine company arrived at this time. If we get 8 runs out of 20 where we don't have any response time data to be able to analyze, then it throws the numbers off. So we can't say for sure whether it's under 4 minutes or 4.5 or what. The numbers that we have would suggest, I was looking at this for this particular metric, and there were hundreds of incidents where the response time was an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Well, we know that's not true. Okay. It's just that no one captured that time. So the only time that we have is the time somebody signed on and the time somebody signed off. And that could be an hour after they got back to somebody decided to put that number in. So the data doesn't allow us at this point to be able to succinctly capture that metric. Charlie and I even talked about not putting it in this year because of that very thing. And I said, I would rather put it in and say, we don't, it doesn't appear that we are reaching our goal at this point. But we also have a new software program coming online with some new hardware as well, some iPads for the rigs, so that we can start to try to train and capture that data better for these things going forward. So as you know, data will drive decisions. And if we're not capturing the data, because of all kinds of different factors, then it's hard to drive the decisions. And so we're working, we spent another, several thousands of dollars to be able to put new software into our RMS system and update our mobile data terminals in all of our rigs. And now we're in the process of moving forward with the training so that we can have some more consistency in terms of capturing these kinds of data points.
So when the prior years said less than 4, but now it says less than 4.5, it's not actually that we're discovering there's a slower response time. It's just
It is and it isn't. It
No.
is and it isn't. I mean, obviously, when we move engine 4 to station 6 during a renovation period, their times to get back into their district to get to those calls are going to be longer than they would be if they were still in the district. And so we can foresee
Yeah,
that
right.
for the next 5 to 6 years, while we're doing all of these renovation projects and we're moving companies around, that those statistics are going to be, they're going to be skewed because we have people out of place. As we take away lanes and we put bike lanes in and we get more congestion in town and we put a bus lane on Route 9 and all of those things go into slowing down the responses. And that those are just real things that are in play here. And it's not any one of them. It's not that we're not trying to get there as fast as we could have in the past. It's just that there's so many variables that, and until we capture that data correctly, we won't know 100% for sure.
So it's essentially, there are enough factors to make you think that it probably is slower. We don't
Correct.
really know how much, but we don't want to show that it's less than 4 because
Correct.
like to show that, hey, there are problems and
Correct.
the standard is 4.
Thank you. You've summarized it perfectly. That I wanted to make sure that we weren't arbitrarily saying it was less than 4. It's more than 4. The ones that we could see that had data available to us to be able to actually look at it and go, yeah, that looks like it's probably a real capture of the real times. They weren't coming in, less than 4. They weren't much more, but they weren't consistently less than 4.
Brian has his hand up. Would you like to join us? There you go.
Yeah, so just regarding that, I mean, the only thing I can surmise, because the next 2 fiscal years are going up from 4, like Lisa pointed out, to 4.5, is, like the chief mentioned, there is going to be relocation. There currently is, and there will continue to be relocation of apparatus. One example going forward is Station 1 right now houses 2 of the busiest companies in the town, Ladder 2 and Engine 1, and they're going to be moving potentially away from that area. So if you think about that part that they cover right now, that they can get to, within a minute or 2, if they do go to North Brookline, or if they do go to Station 4 up in Chestnut Hill, then you're talking miles to get to those places. So from the union's perspective, I just think that increase may reflect that. I can't speak to those numbers because I don't know where those data come from. But that's just my guess.
Thank you.
And then I'm also noticing the incidence of building fires. It looks like it went up a lot last year for the smaller ones. Is that a reflection of having more units, or
that's actually a reflection of better data collection. So a couple of years ago, we started a new RMS system with First Do. The mobile client that I was just talking about is an additional piece that is just coming online, where we should be able to capture more data with regard to response times. But there's also another factor in here, that the national and state reporting system now is a much more robust database, and we should be able to capture that information at a more granular level. Not easy for me to say. And I think that's a reflection of us having a better data collection system on the front end to be able to better reflect. It takes the data and it winnows it down so that we can get better information. And I think that's a reflection of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Something that might have been captured as something else
Right,
is now
it's
being
now
kept
there.
here.
And the large loss fires, it was 25 in fiscal year 23, but it was down 24, 25. So maybe the 25 is just
Those are just
the way it is. And
the way it is. The bigger fires, it just is what it is. It's
Right.
not. And I can tell you, if we lose a person in fire prevention, some of those numbers are going to go up.
And actually, I have one more question on that, and then I'm done, which is Hancock Village. Are there a lot of calls to Hancock Village, and has that been a problem, given the distance, or not?
No,
No.
no. We haven't seen a dramatically marked increase of calls just to Hancock Village with the additional apartments there. Are there more calls? I could delve into that for you, but I can tell anecdotally, I don't believe there's been a remarkable increase.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'll repeat at this time that this is a public hearing. If any member of the public would like to say anything, please raise your hand or put your name in the chat. Now's the time to do it before we close the public hearing. If you have any questions, any comments, please jump in. Wow, there. Okay, well, we'll leave the public hearing open a little bit more. Let's get to the fire station renovation project update. We ask this of you every year. Last year, as I recall, there was some rumor that the Station 5 renovation might be changed in the order of things, and that we did not have enough money to do the last station. And when I talked to you recently, you said that the ones we are doing are on time and on budget. So can you just sort of update us as to where we stand?
Yeah, so we just did a presentation to the capital subcommittee just the other night, and gave them an update on the budget for the stations. Right now, I'm seeing if I can't bring up the spreadsheet that Trent Kelly, who is our project manager, sent to us. And stand by. And if you want, I can share my screen. Share screen. Okay. Can you see that?
Nope, not
Nope.
yet.
No? Okay. And I'm not doing something right. Share screen. Screen broadcast. Zoom. Okay. You need to turn off the virtual background. Okay. All right. I don't know what that means, but I'm not sure what that means. Well, let me just do it this way, and I'll say this. The financials that we presented to the building commission the other day, right now, Station 4 is so. Station 1 and Station 4 have gone out to bid, and Track Builders is doing both of those. So we have some real costs, actual costs that have come in for those two stations. And Station 4 is slated to be completed by the end of April, and we would be moving back into it sometime within the week or two following that, and then within 2 or 3 weeks after that, we would be vacating Station 1. They're moving directly into Station 1. What you alluded to earlier with regard to Station 5 is that we move forward the process of the planning, and so the Committee of 7 and we move forward with that in the planning process, not necessarily change the order of which it would be completed.
Okay.
There was a feasibility study that was done. we spent $58,000 on from the budget, the renovation budget for a feasibility study. And we will be going before the building commission next week tomorrow, I'm sorry, tomorrow, and presenting the findings of the feasibility study and the cost estimates for a renovation of the current station, a partial renovation and partial build of that station, and a complete rebuild of the station. So the building commission asked us to get estimates from two different cost estimators for those three categories. The renovations a straight renovation does not meet the project design for all of the stations. So in essence, it would not give us what it is we're doing in all the other stations. So I'm not sure what the appetite is for that. The partial renovation and the partial rebuild, it gets us closer. The only thing that actually gets us to the full the full is the complete renovation. But enough about Station 5. Station 4, original cost estimate was $7 million. This was from the original price that was put before the voters in the $65 million override. The original cost estimate from GGD was $7,573,583. The actual costs to date have come in at $7,041,636. So there is a delta of a positive $531,946. So we are under budget for Station 4 moving into the last 2 months by $500,000 plus. For Station 1, the original cost estimate was $11,719,039. The actual costs, this is just construction costs from track. Obviously, we have done nothing in terms of add-ons or change orders, but the actual costs that came in on the bid was $8,553,585. So the delta for Station 1 is $3,165,453 to the positive. So we're under budget for Station 1, at least at this time, by $3 million. We know that some of that cost is going to be taken up into soft costs, which are not in the actual cost for that, meaning the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, some of the equipment anyway. The HVAC and all of the big equipment is in the actual cost, but and then whatever change orders need to come down from there. But to give you an idea, Station 4, we've had to date about, David can correct me if I'm wrong, but somewhere in the vicinity of $270,000 in change orders since the beginning, which is a relatively low number when you're talking about $7 million. So right now, without anything, anything else happening, we still have a delta of $50,663,302 in the original appropriations. The original appropriation. I can tell you, without giving away the store, that even the most expensive of the estimates for, or I should say, even a full renovation, a full rebuild, the conservative estimate is still on budget for the original cost estimate for Station 5 at this point. So that's all positive news. I think there was this idea that we were going to blow this $65 million out of the water, and that has just not come to pass. So I'm pleased to say that we are within the budget, and hopefully we'll stay there.
How
is
did that
amazing.
happen? How did it
Bec-
go from too much to under budget?
Because the inflationary numbers that were given, that were put into the original estimate were really, really high.
I see.
And we told them to do that from the very beginning. They put in like a 15% annual. Originally, it was like 5%. And Charlie Simmons, to his credit, was the one who said, no, no, no. This is going to take a long time. You need to put in a much higher inflationary cost, per year. There's also been a little bit of changes to the type of electrification that we're using. There was some assumptions early on about geothermal, and there's just not enough land in most of the cases here to be able to go with that higher cost estimate.
That is amazing. And thank you for the update. Any other subcommittee members have any questions or comments? Oh, hold on. We have Brian who wants to comment.
Yeah, no, my question, it's probably more geared towards Charlie. When we do have a change or a decrease, I guess, in the overall costs, are those funds encumbered? Like, do they have to be allocated towards fire station renovation
Yep.
purposes, since that's what the bond issuance was for? Or what happens to that extra money that we don't use?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you pinned it correctly, which is that town meeting voted the authorization to be for the fire stations. If the money were to be if, for example, town meeting were to vote to rescind the authorization or not use that money, we would pay the bank back. We'd essentially return that money back to the people we borrowed it from. And so you wouldn't be able to take, for example, savings on a capital project and apply it to another issue without town meeting voting that. But in this case, it's also part of a debt exclusion, and so no, there isn't a way to access this money to use it in a different way.
Okay. Any other subcommittee questions or comments? Any last chance for any of the public to join in? Okay, then are we ready for a vote? And we have one person who was here, left, and is now coming back just in time for the vote. Okay, so who wants to make a motion on the budget? Anybody got, I have
I'll move
the,
it. I'll
All right.
second it.
I believe the number is, Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong, 20,263,066, or is that 56? $66. Okay, and we have it,
Second,
and we have it seconded. I have to do a roll call vote. So, Neil Gordon,
yes.
Liz Linder,
Yes.
Danelle O'Neill,
Yes.
Elisa Jonas,
Yes.
Jocelyn had to leave, and I'll vote yes too, so it's unanimous. And so congratulations, Chief, you have a budget.
Thank you,
So
everybody.
Town meeting goes with it, yeah.
Wait, did you say that you voted twice? Is that what I heard?
No,
I voted once, Neil.
we're recording this, so nobody's gonna vote twice while the recording is going on. All right, well, I guess that concludes our budget hearing, which is, I think, the fastest budget hearing we've ever done for fire. Usually we take the whole 2 hours.
Thank you to the local for being here and
Yeah.
supporting these projects.
Yeah, we have a number of people, half of them I recognize as being fire employees, and the other half I don't, but I'm bet most of them are. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you coming and listening to all of this and being a part of it. And thank you, Ann Braga. I guess you didn't have anything to add to it, but thank you for being here. So we'll adjourn and we're taking up fire, I believe, in April. Hang on one second.
I didn't get a reschedule of that yet.
It's April
did my-
7th.
April 7th? Okay, thank you.
It's going to be rescheduled and then that got canceled, I think. But so it's April 7th, the full AC will be taking this up. And everyone is welcome to attend that meeting too. It's not a public hearing, but you can certainly attend and listen to the conversation. And thank you all for coming. Harry Hatz is coming back, so I'll just say we're adjourning and we're going to stop the tape. So thank you all and good night.